Welcome everyone to today's inVantage EOS Lightbulb series session. This is our opportunity to showcase some of the partners that we work with as EOS implementers. In the implementation process of EOS, as you can imagine, as you likely know, we uncover a lot of different business challenges and different opportunities where we need to bring experts in and provide extra services to leaders and their teams to really help flesh out and grow those businesses. And so today I'm really excited. I've got Sarah Gibson, who's a Vistage chair out of Madison, Wisconsin, who has 3 groups that she leads. And so we're going to be learning a lot from her today about Vistage and her approach to that and the successes of it. Oftentimes when I'm working with an EOS client, some of the things that we see when it's time to look at Vistage as an opportunity, and Sarah will elaborate on this, is really a set of advisory skills. And as a former group member myself with Vistage, I was able to really feel the benefits of being a participant and creating the camaraderie and the relationships. And oftentimes that's something we don't do well as entrepreneurs. We don't necessarily get outside of ourselves and our own minds and our own teams to really have other perspectives that help us grow. And sometimes we get stuck when we don't do that. So today we're going to learn more about Vistage. So with that said, Sarah, I'm going to ask you to tell us a little bit about your business and an overview of Vistage overall for those that might not be familiar.
Yeah, for those who aren't familiar, Vistage groups are really a chance for peers to get together to talk about things that relate to their business, places where they get stuck, places where they're trying to fix a problem, or they're trying to avoid something, or they're trying to accomplish something. Those are really the main things we do. We fix, accomplish, or avoid problems, but it's an opportunity to run by peers, people who get what you're doing in that realm and who are at that same spot in their businesses. So I have 3 groups, as you mentioned. I have 2 CEO groups or business owner groups. And then in addition to that, I have a key group, which is an executive level. So kind of that next level down. Maybe it's your COO or your CFO, or maybe it's a VP that you have. And it's a chance for them to relate and to run business ideas by each other in that front. So we learn together, we problem solve together, and we have fun ultimately in that process as well, because we all love our business and we all support each other.
Mm-hmm. There's a really strong relationship. So in the EOS community and Vistage, they're very complementary together. And the Vistage groups feel like, I remember feeling like I had this board of directors outside of my company who didn't have the same vested interest. So it was pretty radical candor of topics and conversation and holding each other accountable. And accountability is obviously one of the things that EOS really focuses on. It's actually where we start our journey of implementation together. So I would love to hear a little bit more about your serial entrepreneurialism. You've been an entrepreneur for a long time. You've started other businesses and been a founder. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you arrived as a Vistage chair.
Yeah, so my entrepreneurial side, that piece of things, was hanging a shingle 15 years ago, almost 16 years ago at this point, and saying, okay, I'm going to enter the world of learning and development, and I'm going to work with teams across, first of all, the region, and then ultimately across the country. But it ended up evolving in that process. And as you know, you start with one business and then your business takes a different shape, or you try a new tactic, or you add components on those vertical services that you offer. And so that's what ended up happening. Is I started out on the learning and development. I have a very weird specialty, which is business writing, which is very nerdy, but it's a skill we all need to have. So I started there, expanded services, ultimately going into the world of speaking and speaking across the country. And I'm officially international because I've been to Canada and Mexico, so that's exciting on that front. And then from there, Vistage came up because as I was speaking, people would say, Sarah, like, my Vistage group needs to hear this kind of thing. And I started checking into it, and I had another Vistage chair in the region I was talking to, and we just went, actually, all of my skills that I've been doing, all this leadership development, executive pieces, coaching, all of that fits into Vistage. And so that's when I stepped into this piece of things about a year and a half ago on that front. So again, entrepreneurial, starting fresh and building a new side to my business and career.
Sometimes our paths take a direction we didn't anticipate. I bet 15 years ago, if I had asked you if you'd be a Vistage chair, you might have even said, what's Vistage? Or I'm not really sure. I don't think that's where I'm headed.
That's
But
exactly right.
That's what a lot of your members experience. They may have been accidental entrepreneurs or business owners. They may be what multiple generation owners. So that's a great parallel to be able to share with your members. When I think about the kinds of challenges that organizations face, um, tell me a little bit about what are some of those that Vistage really does help with? You mentioned that there's this intimate group that can share, but what are some of the challenges that you might help solve for your members or that Vistage helps solve for your members?
Yeah, and these groups are non-competitive and confidential, and you've alluded to that, but it's a chance for you to get together with other people not in your industry to get some feedback to say, okay, what's common about our business? We all have the same challenges in reality. They look different because of our business model or because of our business, but it's the same challenges. The big ones that we run into again and again are scalability. You've hit a ceiling of some sort, and you can't work your way past that. So that's one component that we see. And then the other thing we see is, you mentioned family businesses, but it happens in lots of businesses. We have a transfer of power, or as we grow, we're unclear on who's responsible for what in the business. And those two hiccups hit everybody and at multiple points. So it's not just once during your business growth, it's throughout your business growth, you're going to hit these hiccups. And I think that's where the EOS model becomes a really helpful tool. Not only the discussion in our groups, but what are the tools we use that are complementary to help get us past these points.
You know, when you look at the implementation process of EOS, I mentioned, you know, the accountability resonates with me. Accountability, we talk about an accountability chart versus an org chart in our language, which really turns it on its head a little bit. Of instead of making something that an organization that you build around people, that you actually make an organization and hire the right talent to have the right people in the right seats. But also accountability is decision rights, right? Who's got decision authorities? Who's got also the as EOS would say, the throat to choke in the situation of responsibility. Accountability comes with responsibility, and that's where we start. It's some of the hardest work because in the world of scaling, to your second point, to be accountable and scale, you have to start delegating. You have to start being able to let go of things. You have to start empowering the individuals under you to make decisions that may not have been your exact decision, or certainly not the way you would have gone about it. And you have to get okay with that and make sure you've got the right thing. So that learning process of helping build accountability and scalability is key. And those are usually the catalysts as somebody starts to look at EOS as well. So again, a nice synergy there.
Yeah, I have a very specific example around
Yeah,
that
please.
might be helpful here. So I'm working with one business owner right now. He belongs to one of my Vistage groups. He has 4 partners in his business. He's trying to figure out, we have more business than we can handle coming in. And he's the one that touches everything. And it's getting out of working in the business to getting on the business and working on the business and just struggling with that piece of it. And he needed to hear from his peers that if you don't stop doing this, your business will become stagnant, or your reputation is going to fall apart on that front. It's also not sustainable individually. And then they were able to speak in and say, and here are some things that we've done as part of this. And it was just really helpful on both sides of that, the accountability and setting up the org chart, like you mentioned, that's one of the things he's working on. And then that piece of how do we then transfer it and build it from there.
Mm-hmm. It's so hard if you've got somebody who's been either the founding partner or one of the original team members. They can really become a bottleneck if that's not something that they can learn as a skill set. And I know Vistage has some great videos and tutorials and learnings that are brought into the monthly meetings. You bring speakers in, for example, and help work with your members to learn those tools. And again, it's that whole, sometimes they need to get outside themselves to hear that. Go ahead. So if you're looking at some of your Vistage members, you just alluded to one, maybe there's a couple more examples. People love examples. What are some of the symptoms that might be happening inside of a business that might be an indicator that it's time to look at potentially joining a Vistage group?
Yeah, if you've hit a revenue mark that you just can't get by, you're hitting this plateau and you're thinking, how do I get past this? Or if you have a worker shortage that you just can't overcome, those are a couple of symptoms. I was kind of running through my list. If you keep having the same conversation over and over again, and you never actually move forward on it, you're stuck. And so those are all things that come into mind. If you're growing, like we all have experienced growth pieces within our business where you get to a certain point and you're like, wow, there's tipping points for those things. I don't have enough work to hire 2 new people, but I have enough work for 2 new people. And there's cash flow issues that become clear. And a Vistage group can help you with all of those things. On a personal note, if you are working tons of hours and there is no balance and you just can't see a way out, it's not just a short period of time, like I'm going to dig deep for a couple of months. If it's an ongoing process, or if there's something that keeps you up at night and, all of those things like 2 a.m., you're wide awake going, what do I do about this? Those are all indicators that it may be time to engage in a peer group that can really help you get through all of that.
Absolutely. I think about, I remember as CEO when I joined my first Vistage group, some of the things that I was experiencing is kind of lonely at the top as well. It doesn't matter how tight your team is. And in EOS, we work with the entire leadership team, and it becomes a highly transparent, highly accountable group. You can't hide behind metrics versus subjective information, right? We share real information. But as a business owner or leader at the top, you still need a place to go, like you said, that's confidential, that you can bounce ideas off of people, they can hold you accountable. The other factor there's a very big synergy between Vistage's approach to solving problems and EOS's issue solving. We all call them issues. The process helps teams get better at really identifying root causes. Because as you know, leadership teams spend a lot of time just talking about these symptoms. And that's the stuff that just keeps coming up again. When you said, are you having the same discussion over and over again? It means you're probably not getting to the root cause of what the issue is. The issue processing is incredibly helpful and accountable. Can you share a little bit of just the issue processing that you do within your groups and how that works, just at a high level to share?
Yeah, absolutely. We start out with a challenge. So somebody brings in a challenge or an opportunity that's in front of them. And so this last month, we had somebody come in and say, I'm trying to figure out a pay scale for my sales team. And here's what has happened. We have grown, and as we've grown, we have 3 inconsistent different ways we're paying our sales guys. And I'm about to hire new people, and I need to have one system because it's just ridiculous that we have 3 systems. This guy gets this, and this person gets this, and this woman gets this. And so we talked about those components on that front of things. That one was pretty straightforward as far as like, we're just trying to solve a tactical piece on that front. But there are more deeper issues, as you mentioned. And I've watched people actually get to the point of tears where they're like, oh my goodness, like, okay, so really what I discovered as part of the question wasn't how do I help the next person behind me take over the reins? The issue was my issue. How do I let go? Because my identity is tied up in this business. And so when you get to the deeper roots of those things, like you said, you actually find a way through it. But if you're just asking the wrong question all the time, you never get there. And a peer group and the process that EOS uses and Vistage really helps get to that specific, like, let's get down to that deep level so we can actually move forward.
It's funny, you just made me think of one of the most stunning, but also one of the most vulnerable yet funny moments I had in Vistage was I had brought an issue, a challenge to the group to discuss. And you know how we really work hard at getting to the real root cause, right? There's a lot of that goes into really peeling that onion back. And I remember as I'm talking, one of my peers in the group finally said, but you couldn't possibly be part of the problem, could you? And kind of left it hang out there. And I'm like, very humbling reminder that we even have a team that will also hold us accountable as our Vistage group. But I just remember that in the issue processing approach, it was really interesting. And it was timely, it was needed. And we still laugh about it now when we get together. So.
And it was said out of great respect and deep love for you on that front of things.
And in trust, and it was just an amazing moment of showing the closeness, I think, of the team and the respect to your point. Is there anything else about Vistage you'd like to share? This is incredibly helpful, insightful if anybody's wondering about Vistage, but also to hear your perspective as an esteemed chair.
Well, and I think one of the things that's a little bit different about my experience is that I have worked in the world of, professional development, of coaching, of working with executive teams. And I was drawn to Vistage because I had not seen a model that was this effective. I had not seen this type of group really manifest itself in any other way. And I've seen bits and pieces of all of Vistage and all the components, but Vistage wraps it in a really unique package. So that piece where we've got professional development, you've got speakers coming in that help you with your business that day. The peer piece where we solve problems and look at opportunities is significant. The one-on-one coaching. I think that for me, that's what drew me, is it was really unique. And now that I'm deeply into this process, I can't imagine going through a business without having done this. You were a Vistage member. I was not. And I was foolish to not be a Vistage member. I think now, like, that's one of the things that would have taken my business so much farther before I did some transitioning into this. And so if you are an entrepreneur out there and you are facing any of those moments, I wouldn't hesitate to reach out to any Vistage chair in the region that you live in, because we're all over the world, and find out who can help me through this next piece, who can be my peers and walk beside me. And you're going to get better. Iron sharpens iron, and that's what I love.
I like that. And the thing about with a national footprint like we've got with Vistage is if somebody's looking, they want to make sure they have a good chemistry match with their group, that's allowed as well. There's an opportunity to meet and talk with members and just make sure you feel like you're finding your tribe, as we would say. So it's fantastic. Well, sir, I can't thank you enough for being with us today, and just the link between EOS and Vistage continues to be so strong and so complementary. I look forward to seeing you in the coming year and wish you all the health and success in your business. But again, thank you so much for being on the EOS Lightbulb series today with me.
Thank you, Kelly. Appreciate it. And same back to you. All the best.
Thank you.